to the Unleash Success Podcast, where we break down the secrets of success to give you real tools and strategies that get real results. And now, here's your host, Corpodian.
This is Corpodian. Welcome back to Unleash Success. If you guys haven't subscribed to our newsletter yet, be sure to go to unleashsuccess.com and just enter your email so you can get all the tools and strategies sent directly to you each and every week. Today, I want to talk to you guys about a very serious issue, and that is mental health disease. And whether you're suffering from some sort of mental health disease or just struggling to deal with some negative emotions in your life, such as stress or anxiety, anger, or overwhelm, I want to let you know some of the tools that I use, because I suffered from depression for about 8 years. And depression, anxiety, these mental health diseases have been on the rise significantly over the last several decades. And it's created a really serious problem in our society. So I want to share with you some of the tools that I use to be able to handle some of these negative emotions, to be able to understand what's going on, to deal with life in a better way. In fact, after I learned this process, I was able to not only not feel depressed ever again, but I was able to shift my entire life and truly understand how to live life on my terms. It saddens me that I hear in the news about how 45,000 Americans committed suicide in 2016. How are they dealing with their emotions? What went wrong? What didn't they know? Could this information have helped them? I believe so. It reminds me that success is not just financial. It's not one area of life, it's every area of life. We see so many people who have made millions of dollars, who appear to be happy and love their life, and yet they commit suicide. How did we not know that they were in so much pain, that they were suffering? What kind of emotions were they going through? The ups and downs of life. And I wish they just would have reached out to us. I wish they would have asked. And that just goes to show you how important understanding and controlling your emotions, whether they're as small as feeling anxiety or stress, because even stress causes physical damage in your body, raising your blood pressure. Whatever it is, whether it's overwhelm or anger or depression for you, if you're experiencing a negative emotion, I want to help you understand how to deal with that, how to practice it daily, and how to set yourself up for success, because success is having the mental wherewithal, the fortitude to be able to handle anything in life and still enjoy life too. We've got to enjoy the process, because sometimes parts of our life might not be as great as others. We can't let that pull us into depression. We can't let that pull us into debilitating anxiety or stress. So we have to understand how to manage our emotions. And we look at these people, they were so financially successful, and yet they still committed suicide. I'm reminded of Kate Spade, a world-renowned fashion designer, and she was found dead at the age of 55 on June 5th of 2018 this year. You know, she built a world brand with over 300 stores, and she sold her company in 2007 for $125 million. You know, it's reported that the reason she sold her company was it was recently after she had her daughter in 2007. And according to the Associated Press, Kay was found with a red scarf around her neck attached to a doorknob. She left a letter, apparently, for her 13-year-old daughter while she was at school that said it wasn't her fault. You know, you're just left with asking why. What would be so bad in your life that ending life would be the answer, that suicide would be the answer? You know, and a lot of times we'll never know. But I'm always left wondering. And then it was like, bam, within a week, another celebrity chef Anthony Bourdain, who hosts CNN's Parts Unknown, died by suicide on June 8th. It was only 3 days, actually. And the world's just kind of getting hit with these shocking suicides. And apparently he hung himself in his bathroom, and he was only 61 years old. Both these people had money, they had fame. Anthony Bourdain literally traveled the world and is, renowned for his love for adventure and fine food and his incredible storytelling ability. Some might say he had everything in life. Same for Kate Spade. Oh, God, this one really got me, guys. Bourdain's mother, Gladys Bourdain, told the New York Times that he was absolutely the last person in the world she ever would have dreamed would do something like this. Many would agree. How did it get that far? That hanging himself was the answer. Again, we ask, why did this happen? How did they not reach out for help? Or how did the help not work for them? Why does something so tragic persist in our world so profoundly? According to the CDC, 45,000 Americans died by suicide in 2016. That's one death every 12 minutes. This is truly a major public health issue. From 1999 to 2016, there was over a 30% increase in suicides. And it often comes out of nowhere. With 54% of suicides never having a known mental health issue. Many people will say they self-medicate with drugs or alcohol or some other high that distracts them from the negative thoughts that they experience. And suicide just doesn't affect older people. It affects people of all ages. In fact, it's the second leading cause of death from ages 10 to 34. And that's second only to accidents. And it's the fourth leading cause of death in people 35 to 54 years old. Nearly 76% of these suicides are actually committed by men. Experts will say there's many factors that contribute to suicide, including substance abuse, financial, job stress, loss of housing, legal issues, relationship issues, physical health issues, a crisis in the previous or the next 2 weeks. Life is a crisis at times. It's just how we deal with it. While they break this down to 7 different categories and see the percentages that affect people who end up committing suicide, I really only see one category. I only see external problems. All those things that they list are all things outside of our control. They're all things that happen around us. The only difference between people who end up feeling these negative emotions, which might eventually lead to suicide, are the actions that we take internally. What we focus on. How we end up interpreting these experiences so that we end up reacting. Either we react with sadness, or we react with guilt, or maybe it's depression, or maybe it's appreciation for life because life is so precious. We want to make the most out of it. But when we're down in the dumps and everything's against us, it's even harder to realize one of the biggest things that helped me. And that's simply this. Everything you feel is a choice. I myself was depressed for 8 years before finally making a change. Whether you're experiencing work-related stress, anger, anxiety, overwhelm, depression, or even contemplating suicide, I want to share with you what works for me to get rid of these thoughts. And, sometimes people, they have these thoughts and they relive them, they rehearse them, they become new habits. And I want to show you that there's a way to get rid of these thoughts, create new habits so you never have to experience this emotion again. Whether it's depression or blinding rage, I want to show you that you cannot feel that if you choose to. The process of doing this is actually very simple, but the hard part is doing it. Life is such a gift. We've all had experiences where we truly enjoy life fully. And even if it's been a while, we're all due for some good, but it starts in our mind. People think suicidal thoughts means that something's wrong with them, that they should have never had that thought in the first place. And I'm here to tell you that everybody's got random thoughts going through their mind. A single thought does not define you. But thoughts only become reality when you feed them with energy. And the only way you feed them is by constantly focusing on them. Maybe you've never had a suicidal thought. Maybe you've had, thoughts of rage or anger or depression. For some people, it stays a few minutes and they easily get rid of it, not worrying about it, not caring about it, because they know it's just a fleeting thought. But for some of us, it might have stayed for days or months. And why are we sitting there reliving this emotion in our head? Why? And the truth is that we all tell ourselves a story. We create this story in our mind where we're trying to focus on what we want in life, but we end up telling ourselves that we're not good enough, or we don't deserve it, or, people are stupid. That's why I'm so upset. But we end up focusing so intensely on it. What you're not realizing is that it's a choice to focus on that. It's a choice to tell yourself this story. Listen, you are the greatest storyteller of your entire life. You have the ability to change it if you want. You can change your life literally at any moment just by changing what you tell yourself. Because we have control over this story. But you know what? People get lost. They get stuck in this downward spiral of negativity, telling themselves, you're too stupid. You're not good enough. If you have a bad experience or you get rejected or, you don't make that, win, you don't get the win, you don't make the job, you don't do the things that you're supposed to do, and suddenly you lose or you fail and people stop. And then they relive this story over and over again in their heads until they believe it. One man once said that if you tell a story long enough, loud enough, eventually enough people will believe you, even if that story is a lie. And that man was Hitler. And the biggest lie that we tell is the one we tell ourselves. You see, if you focus on thoughts long enough, they become a habit. You start to go into these emotional habits of negativity. You start to wake up feeling upset. You start to go to bed feeling upset. And then eventually, that habit builds into a behavior, albeit a negative one. So the first step to shift is simply becoming aware of what's going on in your mind. If they're emotions of stress and overwhelm, are they just the response of how you perceive the outside world? Our perception of what we think is whether we're grateful for the opportunity or grateful for the failures. Do we learn from our failures, or are failures just an endpoint and now we feel too stupid that we can't go on? What's your perception? And then what actions do you take? So let's go back. Can we change our perception? The answer is yes. The one thing that we do have control over is our own minds. We don't have control over other people, the past, or experiences in the world. Sure, you can influence it. You can apply for jobs, but you don't have control over whether you get that job. You can, find a new boyfriend or girlfriend, but you don't have control over whether they leave you or not. And understanding that ultimately the only thing we can control is what we think, how we feel, and what we do, that gives you ultimate power. Because then suddenly you understand that these feelings that you're feeling are a choice. While others feel maybe, regret or guilt or consumed by emotions that lead to a negative stress, some people, make a mistake and they have enthusiasm. And you're sitting there, why? You just failed. No, I didn't fail. I learned something new and now I'm better because of it. What's the difference between these two experiences? It's simply just how they perceive the experience itself. So the first step is to becoming aware, is to understand that we can only control what we think and what we do. We have zero control over the outside world. Now that you can control your inner world, the question is, do you? Do you consciously decide what you want in your life? Do you focus your mind intently with purpose? Do you manage your emotions? And do you take actions to improve that? I'll give you an example. What emotions have you felt in the last 7 days? What emotions specifically? Anger, happiness, joy, ecstasy, sadness, guilt, regret? What emotions have you felt? Do you even know? And that's really the biggest component, is self-awareness, being aware. When I first did this, I knew the answer immediately. Depression. I had been depressed for 8 years. The only emotion that I felt was miserably depressed. And in doing this, I made a common mistake that a lot of people make especially when they're feeling a negative emotion. And that is generalization. When we generalize an emotion so that any time I felt even mildly upset or slightly sad, it turned into miserably depressed. Or anytime someone cuts you off driving on the freeway, you go into blinding rage. That is generalization. What happens is when you generalize and when you use the words that says, I'm enraged right now. How could they possibly cut me off? Didn't they see me? When you use those words, your body reacts in kind. It actually accentuates the emotion that you feel. And so, for some it's anger, others it's anxiety. And if you're depressed, you might feel a sense of numbness. But that feeling numb was really common for me in depression, actually. And I realize now that it protected me. It protected me from feeling the pain of life. I thought everything was so bad, I didn't want to feel anything. So I just went numb. I said I didn't care. And when I didn't care, I didn't feel the pain. Unfortunately, what happens is that works. And I didn't feel any pain. I just felt numbness. But I also didn't feel the joy of life. And if you get honest with yourself, odds are you felt a few different emotions. I want you to go ahead and write them down. To help with this, I usually rank how strongly I feel those emotions on a scale of 1 to 10. And that really kind of helps just kind of understand, if you're depressed, are you depressed at a 10 all the time? Or is it really like a 2 or a 3? And now that you can choose to feel a certain way, what if you could change the way you feel? If you're depressed at a 3, are you really depressed or are you just mildly upset? Are you a little bit disappointed? Are you bummed? Shifting that can literally change the way you feel. So these emotions we write down, if you're honest, might not be the best emotions you want to feel. But the past does not have to equal the future unless you live there by telling yourself that story. If you continually tell yourself those same old thoughts, that same story, guess what? You're going to continue to feel that way. So shift your focus. Stop telling yourself that. Realize that a fleeting thought is just a thought. Get on with it. Move on. Shift your focus and think about a different thought. Think about something encouraging, empowering. So really, I think understanding and awareness is huge. In every moment of every day, we are given a choice. That's what literally changed my life. That I don't have to feel depressed because of the way I used to be. I could choose right now to live a different way. And every time I took an action in the right direction, I supported it. If I made a mistake, I wasn't hard on myself. I didn't go, God damn it, Corey, now you're depressed again. I said, you know what? Now I'm learning. I'm learning how to deal with it. Sometimes I made the same mistake over and over and over and over again. But if I kept doing the same thing over and over again, well, that's the definition of insanity. The key is to try something new. Some of you guys might be saying, you know what? I can't change right now. I don't know how to change. I've tried so many different things and none of them have worked. Have you tried this? And if you haven't, I ask, just give it a try. See if it works for you. Understanding that we have a choice is huge. Now we have a choice to look at every failure as a learning experience to get better for next time. Failure is only the beginning. Failure is not the end. It is not a stopping point. We can focus on what others did. We could blame other people. We could blame the economy or something that happened in our past. Or we can live life right now, and we can focus on the actions we can take right now. And there is one single thing that we can always do, and that is change. See, the world is constantly changing. The weather, the seasons, the people, everyone grows older, everything changes with time, the economy's going up and down. And I truly believe that it's impossible to stay constant. You know, in science, they talk about when energy is not put into a system to maintain order and balance, when effort is not put in to maintain that balance, it results in entropy or a gradual decline into disorder. If we do not put energy and focus into our own mental health daily, it will start to decline. You may not notice it right away, but after a few months, you will see entropy will take effect. Disorder will come if you do not create focus in your life for what's important. But just like a negative habit can form over a few weeks, we can create new habits that help us. So, if you're feeling stressed, overwhelmed, anxiety, depression, anger, or even contemplating suicide, these are a few steps that can help you. The first thing is you got to identify what makes you feel that way. Sometimes we call it a trigger or an anchor, and we have these for good and bad things. Sometimes someone cuts you off on a freeway, you go into blinding rage. But yet someone cracks a joke and you can't help but laugh. So what is the trigger that causes the negative emotion for you? And while you're at it, what are some triggers that you might want to have handy in your pocket when you experience a negative emotion? What are some triggers that make you feel good, make you feel happy? You know, I know every time I walk out to the beach and look out at the ocean, I just feel good. I've always connected with it. I've always connected with the water, and I absolutely love it. Every time I go to the gym and work out, I feel better about myself. So I know if I go into a negative trigger, I need to do something, I need to take some action. You know, sometimes I just go for a workout. Gets my mind right. And you're going to understand why working out is so powerful later on in one of these other steps here. We've got about 7 of them. So hang tight. That was step 1, was identify what causes you to feel a certain way. You got to know what the trigger is. Because if you can anticipate the trigger, 1, if it does set you off, now you know how to deal with it because you can anticipate how you're going to deal with it. You can plan in your head how you're going to shift that when it does set you off. And 2, you might even be able to avoid it or find another trigger to make you feel good. So step 2 is, now that we've been triggered to feel an emotion, we really got to understand what emotions are meant for. And emotions are meant to help us. You know, they originally designed to tell us something, a survival mechanism of sorts. Stress, for instance, is in the flight or fight response. It is to help you survive. Do I run from this lion or do I try and kill it? You might be asking, you know, what about depression and numbness? How does that help us protect ourselves? Well, we talked about it. Numbness protects us from the pain that we've had in the past. But it also prevents us from experiencing the joy. So in the short term, maybe it was useful, but you know, if you let it sit there for days and months, it causes even more pain. Now, what about stress or overwhelm or anxiety? Well, they get us all wound up, don't they? And usually they're caused by a lot of stuff that we feel we have to do, that we should do. And maybe we want to do it too, but now we're stressed and we need to go relax. But maybe if we can convert that energy into something useful. So, you know, when I get stressed, I typically write down goals. I'm stressed. Why am I stressed? Because I've got all this stuff running around in my head. I got to write down some goals. So I use that stress as a way to shift my mindset because it's telling me something. It's telling me I need to take some action. It's telling me I need to do something to get out of this. The problem is people don't do anything and then they run around in their head over and over again, making it worse, and it builds on itself and it downward spirals. And of course, anything in the long term causes problems. Stress has been shown to increase blood pressure. So ultimately, to change anything, we need to take action to shift our mindset. Step number 3 is really to shift our mindset, and we can do this in a number of different ways. One, you can shift your focus, what you're focusing on, and how you perceive the outside world. The easiest way to do this is simply by asking yourself a question. How is this emotion helping me? Even the bad ones. Anger. How is this emotion helping me? Well, it makes me feel significant. It makes me feel important. How can I use this emotion to make my life better? I'm upset that I didn't accomplish everything I wanted to accomplish. So now I'll use that energy to take action towards my goals. Could I focus on something else? Maybe. Maybe it's not a ship in my way. Maybe it's a lighthouse and I really do have to change my direction. I also recommend you ask another question. And this is something that's truly helpful. And I know it's hard, but ask yourself, what can I focus on to feel grateful for in this life? And focus on something grateful, a past memory, or maybe a new opportunity. And if you can't find something grateful, I know it's tough, especially in the moment, because I've been there. Ask yourself if you could find one thing, even something small, to be grateful for. What would it be? If you could. Maybe you could find something to be grateful for, like the fact that you were given your heart. You didn't have to earn it. You didn't have to buy it. And that heart works for you every single day. It beats 100,000 times a day without ever asking for anything from you. Maybe that could be something you're grateful for today. Each day I'm grateful that as I breathe, I have unlimited opportunities to work and better myself, because some people don't have that. Some people have passed on and we don't know what's next. We might never know what's next. All we know is what we have now. All I know is that there is joy in life if you look for it. There is good in life if you look for it. And I just think that when you're grateful, when you practice gratitude, nothing is ever really that bad. So just the opportunity to live life, to pursue your goals, to learn, to grow, that helps me bring gratitude. And the second thing to shift your mindset is you really have to watch your words. See, words have power. Remember generalizations? Well, generalizations lead to stronger emotions from smaller feelings, because we end up generalizing by using a strong emotional word towards a small experience. And if you give these words power, it changes the meaning and the feeling that you experience. So the word that you choose to describe how you feel does in fact change how you feel. I used to say I was depressed all the time. And in fact, I was depressed all the time for 8 years. Once I realized how powerful words were, I cut it out of my vocabulary. Not just saying it out loud, I'm talking about in my mind. And I have never been depressed again. I don't even know what it feels like because I can't describe it in my body. I use different words, and over time, it completely eliminated. If I ever made a mistake and said I was depressed, I said, no, I'm not depressed. What am I really? I'm just stressed. Or I'm a little disappointed that I'm not further ahead in life. But that's okay. I still have the opportunity to go after it. And step 3 for a way to shift your mindset is got to get out of your head. People run circles in their head with their emotions, making things often worse than they really are. If you have a problem, share it with somebody. If you can't share it with somebody, write it down on paper. And then, you know what? Write down what all the possible solutions are to this problem. Anything you can think of. And then write down what's the worst that could happen? Truly. It's like I was saying, you lose a job, you find another one. There are literally companies that find thousands of people jobs every single day. You lose your house, guess what? Now you don't have to make the payment. But you can always get another one. You can always build up. You can always earn more. You don't have the skills, you can learn something. You broke up with your boyfriend or girlfriend, there's a lot of fish in the sea. Whatever is really that bad, as long as you're alive, as long as you are breathing, You can do something to better your life. You can take action. You feel alone? Facebook has 2 billion people on it. Find some friends. Join a meetup group. Meet some people in real life. You want some more money? Put together a plan. Execute. So I say, write down on paper what the problem is. If you're stressed out with a new work project, you're depressed because you broke up with your significant other, are you insecure about your body? And then write down some actions. And that's step number 4. What is your action plan? You want to write it down. Why? Because when you put it on paper, now those thoughts, fleeting thoughts that were nothing, now become real. See, thoughts come and go. It's only what we focus on and what we write down and put into action in the physical world that becomes real. Get rid of the negative thoughts. Write down the positive ones. Write down the dreams that you have, the goals that you have. Maybe you're going to write down how you're going to finish that new work project and then you're going to go celebrate. Maybe you're going to join some dating apps and go on some new dates. Maybe you're going to focus on yourself and go to the gym, work on your body, work on your self-confidence. And speaking of body, that brings us to number 5. And that's the mind-body connection. You want to move your body in a different way. See, the mind does not only tell the body also tells the mind. I spent years learning from some of the best ways to shift your mindset just by shifting your body. One way to do that, like I said already, is to work out or go for a run. Running releases endorphins. Working out makes you feel good about yourself, builds up that self-confidence. The second way to do it is super interesting, and I wish somebody had told me this when I was depressed. It's called power posing, and I've said it before, but I'll say it again because it still works. Amy Cuddy was a Harvard psychologist who did a study that showed that 2 minutes of power posing, which is the act of standing like Superman or Wonder Woman. Think about, hands at the hips, shoulders back, chest up, chin up, eyes up. That pose, holding it for 2 minutes a day, significantly boosted testosterone, significantly lowers the stress hormone cortisol, and in fact, helps you focus on the reward of life, on the goals that you got. This pose for 2 minutes literally changes the way you feel. If you don't believe me, try it. Do it for 7 days. See what happens. And of course, we've got to take action towards our goals. Ultimately, the biggest thing that you can do is move. If you're sitting on the couch thinking about what you should do, just go do it. Don't worry about what's going to happen. Figure it out along the way. Accept that you're going to make mistakes. Know that you're going to make mistakes and do it anyways. The difference between the successful and the unsuccessful is not always talent. It's not always strategy. Sometimes it's just a relentless amount of action, a relentless amount of desire to keep on going, to keep on improving, to keep moving. I really believe that in the face of fear, action is your best friend. Because guess what? A lot of the fears that we have are made up. We're afraid of what other people might think of us. Most people don't care. They're too focused on what other people are thinking about them. They don't care what you think about yourself. They don't care what you're doing. They're just focused on them, how they look, what they do, how they feel. If they feel fat in those jeans, if they feel uncomfortable, if they don't look good or have the right job or drive the right car, they're not listening or thinking about you. So don't worry about them. Don't worry. Take action. One of the things that attracted me to Stoicism was the phrase, easy choices, hard life. Hard choices, easy life. And I thought, that's interesting. If we always choose the easy way out, if we always choose to, not go to the gym, if we choose to go out partying and drinking, then at the end of the day, our life is going to be a little bit harder. And yet, the people that make the hard choices have an easy life. How is that? Because people who consistently put in the work reap the rewards. It's like planting a seed. You got to plant the seed. You got to nurture it, not for a day or two, but for a month, for 6 months, for years sometimes, before you can reap the rewards. And I really believe that a hard choice is simply the choice to change. Change is not always easy, but it can be fast. You have the power. You and only you have the power to make the choice right now to change. And it starts by practicing self-awareness, by going through these steps, which, by the way, I'll put in the show notes a PDF file so you can have exactly these steps, so you can do it at home at your leisure. But practice self-awareness. What emotions are you feeling? What level are you feeling? Know what's going on in your body, because your body will start to react before you ever label it sometimes. Because you've labeled it in your mind, you might not have said it out loud, and you're sitting there wondering, I'm so anxious right now. Why? You don't realize what's going on with yourself. You're the only one who can do this. So you have a choice to shift how you feel. You are in control of your life, no one else. And I'm not saying life is easy. It's often not. I'm not going to say life is even fair, because it's never fair. What I am saying is, just like anybody else, you have a choice. You have a choice in how you choose to respond to life. That is the only thing you can control. You can control how you react to life's experiences. Look at Michael Jordan, was cut from his high school basketball team. Did he give up? No. He worked harder. Became arguably one of the best players in NBA history. Kobe Bryant, who followed in Michael Jordan's footsteps, famously tore his Achilles tendon. Did he quit his career? No, he didn't even quit the game. He actually came back to shoot 2 free throws. And he spent the next year and a half rehabilitating and coming back because he wasn't ready to give up. Despite the pain he suffered, he was willing to work harder. He made a hard choice to live the life that he wanted. The world is full of trials and tribulations. It's full of really painful experiences. Going from, rich to broke. Going from being in love to losing everything. Going from being fit and healthy to making a lot of bad decisions and gaining a bunch of weight. Or, randomly, my mom had a stroke, for crying out loud. She's one of the healthiest people. You never know what's going to happen, but we can't control that. So why focus on it? And if you're listening right now, I'm going to tell you this. You can get through anything. I know, because you've already survived everything up until this point. You've already survived. And if you can survive that, you can survive again. To live in the past, which you no longer have control over. To focus on your future and design the life that you want to live. That's the beauty of life. You have a choice. I know so many people who live in the past, blaming what happened to them in the past, as opposed to focusing on what they can do right now to better their future. I was overwhelmed. I was angry with life, using numbness just to deal with the pain. It was my defense. And wondering how I would change it all. For 8 years, I said I tried everything and failed. Instead of wondering for another 8 years how I would survive, I started doing. I finally took action to improve my mental health. And in 6 months, I changed my physical health, my finances, and my entire life. I've never been depressed since. And it's a gift. But it was a daily practice. It wasn't luck. It was a daily practice. And it starts with you right now, today, making a decision to train your mind. To rewire your brain to focus on the good in life. There is good in everything if you only look for it. Can you focus on the good in life, not the bad? I'm not going to say it's going to be easy. You're going to make lots of mistakes, but will you try to do it? Is it worth it to live a better life for yourself? Focus on the opportunity, not the loss. Failure is only the end if you stop trying. And I don't take lightly the challenge of severe mental health issues. These are just the ways that I found worked for me after 8 years of failing. And of course, I was ready for change. I wanted to change. And this is how I did it. Now I'm more than happy to lend an ear to anybody who is going through a rough time. And you can send me an email at corey@unleashsuccess.com. However, if you are feeling a significant emotional stress or thinking that suicide is even an option, I strongly urge you to seek professional help, especially the men who are listening. Do not think that asking for help is a sign of weakness. It's not. In fact, I believe it's a sign of strength. Knowing when you need help and then asking for it is strength, because it shows that you're willing to do whatever it takes to get better. Guys, life is a gift, and there's so many people that will help you, gladly help you, continue to live your life. So if you know someone going through a rough time, ask them how they're doing. Lend them an ear. Ask them what's going on in life and truly listen to them. And if you want, you can share this podcast if it helped you. Remember, we've got to practice our self-awareness. We've got to understand what these emotions are going through. And then we've got to take action to get over them. We've got to shift them, change the words that we used, shift our focus by asking different questions. And if any of you or someone you know is considering suicide, even in the slightest, please contact the National Suicide Prevention Line at 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-8255. Or you can text HELP to the crisis text line at 741-741. Or you can go to the suicidepreventionlifeline.org. That's suicidepreventionlifeline.org. And I urge you to seek help. Life is a gift, and it's meant to be lived. To take that opportunity away from yourself is not the answer. There are better ways. You can feel whatever you want to feel whenever you want to feel it, but it takes practice. And today I start with gratitude. Gratitude that we are here together on this podcast, living life, that we are here together, going through whatever trials and tribulations, but that we are here together, looking to better our lives, looking to unleash success in ourselves, our community, and our friends, and in the world. So I thank you. Please share this with anybody, and please, I'll link to suicidepreventionlifeline.org. If you need help, please do not hesitate to ask. And if any of you want to reach out to me separately to talk, you can email me at corey@unleashsuccess.com. Life is meant to be lived. Thank you. If you guys enjoyed the show and learned something of value, the one ask that we have is please go subscribe. If you'd like to leave us a 5-star rating and review, that definitely helps us get our message out there. Because each week I'm going to interview amazing people, and I want to be able to give you more and more tools and strategies that get you real results. Feel free to connect with me on Facebook or Instagram at Corey Corpodian, or just visit the website at unleashsuccess.com. Remember, knowing is not enough. Knowledge alone is not power. Action is. Because action is the only way to get the results you want in life and truly live the life of your dreams. So go take some action, subscribe to the podcast, and get ready to unleash success in you.